Today is now 5 years since the day I got hurt. I've rewritten this thing over and over again in my head and out in public. I've never given up, and this is how that story goes.
Penalties early. Mentioned how penalties were a problem for him last game. Here's Cardwell, save, rebound, score! Mick Deaver! And it's 2-1 Boston.
Things are going so fast that you have to react within 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds. The speed of the game, the hits, the goals, the fights, all of it was what drew me to the sport. It was always a challenge, and when we thought I was ready to go to the next level, that was in St. Louis, and everyone thought, I always remember at tryouts, everyone was making fun of me because I was from Columbia. They're like, Columbia, Missouri, what are you talking about? I was fortunate enough to, have those life lessons through Mizzou football. Growing, I was the youngest at every sport, baseball, soccer, hockey, lacrosse, all of it. And that, it was kind of that mentality of you're not going to beat me kind of mentality that I took into every practice, every tryout, every game, all of it. I was fortunate enough to go to a couple nationals, 2 national championships with my St. Louis hockey team, Afton Americans, and we were able to not only win one of them, but go to both. And at one of those nationals was where my coach up in Boston at the time saw me and asked me to move out to Boston. And that was at first I actually said no. I wanted to try out one more time in St. Louis and stay home, and things didn't turn out the way that I hoped. And we reached back out to the coach, and he said that you have 24 hours to respond, yes or no, on coming back out to Boston. And opportunities like that don't come around a second time. So moved out there, left everything I knew at 15 years old, and lived in a hockey house with 10 of my teammates at the time. And those guys were my first family out there. They were my only family when I moved out there, and we had some crazy times together, and they really mean a lot to me. We were right next to the rink. It was so much fun, just being able to get up, go to the rink, skate, work out, come home, eat some lunch, do school for a couple hours. Then we were right back at the rink for our normal practice and workout time. I moved out there in hopes of getting a Division I scholarship. I remember my third game up there. I was, the rosters are usually posted next to the locker room doors, and I was looking at it, and they were all going to a Division I school. I wasn't there yet, so I wanted that. I wanted that more than anything. Life is going to hit you when you least expect it.
18-year-old Mick Deaver learned one of life's toughest lessons as a teenager.
Whose last game changed his life.
Another normal game day. We were coming off a big win the night before, the start of the third period, and I, hop on the ice. Guy's coming in. He shoots the puck. Our goalie gets it off to the sideboards. Like goalies are always told to do. My teammate, I realize that. I read the play happening, and I see my other teammate get it on the sideboards. I take 3 or 4 crossovers like I have done multiple times. Get the touch pass from him, and I start skating up the ice. Obviously, since I have the puck, a guy's coming at me, and so I was, needing to make a play. I start to bank the puck around him off the boards, and when I tried to cut into the inside of him, that's when I slipped and fell, and I ran into him. And in that process, my head, collided with his upper leg, knee area, and it snapped my head back, and it burst my C5 vertebrae. Immediately tried getting up, and I couldn't, and that's when I realized that, my legs felt like they were up in the air. I wasn't able to breathe very well. Some of my teammates came up to me and were like, Deaves, get up, baby, come on now. Deaves, come on. And I remember looking at one of them and saying, I can't move. I can't get up. I quickly realized that, my hockey career is over, and I knew I was paralyzed immediately. Me in the ambulance, that was when I was able to talk to my parents for the first time. My dad, I knew they were watching the game 1,000 miles away back home in Missouri, and I said I get on the phone with my dad and I'm talking to him and said I told him not to freak out and told mom not to freak out, told him to tell mom not to freak out and that I was okay, but I never wanted to say to him over the phone that I'm paralyzed. No parent needs to hear that over the phone or in general. When we get to the hospital, room 3015, all these nurses and stuff were coming in, doctors were coming in doing tests, asking a bunch of questions. And, since I was 17 at the time, I wasn't really allowed to have too many visitors. So I was just kind of isolated there with my thoughts. 3 stars on the ceiling and the clock just ticking and ticking and ticking. All the questions are going, why me? Why, I worked so hard. I've put in all the time and effort. I'm this close to getting my dream. And it was all just gone within a second, less than a second. Of course, the questions kept going and going. And finally I stopped and looked at the clock and realized that it was, it wasn't midnight yet. And that, when midnight hits, it's November 19th, and that is a brand new day to get better, to forget yesterday, move on, and focus on getting better each and every day. When you're 17 years old, you're not a baby anymore. You know how to walk, you dress yourself, eat, do everything. And I was so frustrated and wouldn't let it show, but so many mental battles still going through my head. And it was through those times that Scotty Kramer and Eric LeGrand were placed into my life.
Dude, keep at it, man. We're gonna come back and visit you again. All right, and we'll bring more surprises for
Sounds
you.
good to me.
Next time it'll be dessert.
I met Eric. I actually heard about Eric when he first got hurt back in 2010, watching SportsCenter every morning. I remember seeing him, watching him, learning about him when he first got hurt. And then when I was hurt, he came to the hospital to visit me. And that meant so much.
It's his birthday.
1-8 today.
Look at that birthday balloon, dude.
And it was 21 days in the PICU, 2 surgeries, collapsed lung, a blood clot in my right arm. Later that I moved on to Kessler Rehabilitation Center. And it was, home to Superman, one of the best rehab places in the nation. That's where Scotty was introduced to me.
Landed so crooked on that, and only Scotty can roll that one out.
Scotty and Eric were both just elite athletes, just like I was. We were doing what we loved when we got hurt. We were giving our all when we got hurt. So I think there's part of us that never regrets any of it.
Put a little demo on for us. I want to see how you move on this wheelchair.
Moving.
Wow, that is crazy, dude. Give me a 360. Give me a flat ground 360.
Get in and my therapist says, "We're walking." And I kind of looked at her like she was crazy, and I was like, "We're what?" And she was like, "Yep, we're walking." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it then." So we get me into the parallel bars, and I remember just sitting there, and every time we stood me up, I was like, "Don't pass out, don't pass out, don't pass out. Take my first steps." That was super, super special. I was talking with friends and family and therapists when I first started therapy, and it was, take everything one goal at a time, one step at a time. And that very first goal was just to be able to walk again. February 4th, 2017, I was able to do that.
Your legs on your own.
My next goal when coming home was to be able to skate again. We tried doing anything and everything that was hockey related. Standing, balance, stick handling, different weighted medicine balls. We got me into skates.
And just kind of make sure that your toes and your knees.
I honestly feel more stable in these than I do in.
I remember sitting there at the rink, as I was putting the jersey on, kind of thinking like how fitting it felt that my first time skating after my injury, I'm skating at the rink that I fell in love with the sport with, Washington Park Ice Arena. We were, it was where I scored my first goal, where I fell down and got up for the first time, where, all my first were. And it felt even more right that my dad was lacing up my skates like he did 18 years ago before that. Throughout this journey, I don't have to tell you that there's been plenty of tears that day, that night, all those days leading up to walking again, skating again. There's been plenty of tears, but it was through those tears that, I quickly realized we always have it within ourselves to get past those setbacks. My favorite quote is 12 a.m. is a new day. We might have the worst Monday, the worst Tuesday, worst Friday. And when 12 a.m. hits, that's a brand new day. And all we can do is get better and make ourselves get better. It's okay to have dark moments. It's okay to have dark days or weeks. But the main thing is that you can't stay there. If you stay there, you're going to be stationary, and then you'll start to deteriorate both mentally and physically. And that's the main thing, is that you have to stay positive, because like I said, we have it within ourselves every day to get better, and all we can do is just take it one step and one goal at a time. People often ask me if I would go back, and I always say no. The reason why I'm here talking to them right now is because without a doubt in my mind and every breath I have in my body, that last play at Rock Ice Center in Dunellen, New Jersey, November 18th, 2016, I gave everything I had. And that's why I don't regret a single second of it.
I just want to lastly thank everyone, friends and family, nurses and doctors, for everything that you've done throughout these last 5 years. Here's to many more.